I'm Beth from CanFitPro Home Office, and I'm here today with 4 amazing fitness instructor specialist pro trainers. So they teach our fitness instructor specialist certification program, and they all have different experiences working in different types of fitness facilities pre-quarantine, and then they've all brought their offerings online as well. And just a few housekeeping notes to mention before we get off the top here, before I pass it over to our panel. We have this being recorded, so you will be sent a replay email tomorrow, and you can always check out the webinar on the CanFitPro YouTube channel as well. And in the replay email, whether you are able to stay for the whole thing or you have to drop off a little early, we do have an amazing handout that we're going to be sending to you, which is going to have all the resources, links, tech tips, tools that our pro trainers are using that we're sharing today in the webinar, so that if you want to go and check out some of those different tools that we have mentioning today, you're going to be able to see those in the handout. So we're going to be going through a lot of stuff. As you can see on our learning goals, we got stuff to tell you about mindset, space, the different platforms you're going to use, lighting, audio, the whole thing. And there's going to be a lot of information we want to share after. So don't worry if you don't catch the exact name of the tool. We will be sharing all that with you afterwards too. And there is an optional CEC quiz available for this education. So if you are interested and you want to grab a CEC, we do have a quiz. It'll be on the CanFitPro member portal by tomorrow. It's $30 plus tax. And finally, this will run about an hour, and we're just delighted to have you here. So let's get started. I am very excited to welcome our panelists today, and I do want to get started just by asking them to introduce themselves. I figured that would be the best way for you to get to know them, and I am going to start with Asada. Asada McKenzie, can you please come on and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Asata McKenzie, and for over 15 years, I've been teaching group fitness classes. And I've been teaching both. I've started teaching for the city and then teaching for a big box gym, so commercial fitness. And then with that, moving on to corporate fitness, so teaching for different companies in their own facilities, so if they have their own gym, or even companies that didn't have a gym. I currently also teach, I do workplace wellness and health promotion as well. Outside of quarantine, I also did some spots on CBC and CTV as an online fitness expert. And I have a YouTube channel, and also for Chatelaine magazine, I did fitness editing and modeling, and also again teaching fitness classes and movement. And that's the quick one of my history.
Thank you, Asada. Can we hear from Beth Oldfield next?
Thank you so much, Beth. Thanks for this opportunity. I've been teaching group fitness for 20 plus years now in the Pointe-Claire-Rigaud area of Quebec. My clients' average age is 68, so I'm an older adult specialist, and that's my passion. And I have clients anywhere from age 30 up to 85. 17 years ago, I started a small little business working on the side, renting church hall basements and things like that. Lugging my equipment around. So I, pre-COVID, had a solid private client base, and I was able to thankfully transition all of them online. And now we're thriving. Now I'm teaching, boot camps and HIITs and Tabatas and eccentrics and yoga and muscle conditioning and that line dance. Yeah, so all of that online. So I'm happy to see that there's a bunch of people or trainers already on here who specialize in working with this crowd. You can get them online, and they're not going back to the gym anytime soon. So bravo, come on, join us.
Thank you, Beth. Let's hear from Donna next, please. All right, Donna, we're not hearing you, my friend, so just try to unmute yourself again. this sometimes happens when you're teaching online fitness. We get a little technical difficulties.
It does, it does. Sorry about that. Thank you very much. Now you know what it's like. You just keep moving. So as I was saying, I have been a fitness educator with CanFitPro for the FIS program for a number of years. In addition to that, I've been a master trainer for several different specialty formats, and also consulting and helping design other programs for fitness programs for different companies. And I've been able to do that in addition to teaching hundreds and hundreds of hours over the last 14 plus years to a variety of participants within the corporate space, commercial space, privately, and municipalities. And love it and have the pleasure of, I really enjoy this space here and of serving and supporting my fellow colleagues and new fitness instructors in their journey to help positively impact the general public, because I think we need it.
Thank you, Donna. And last but certainly not least, we have Sabrina.
Hey, thanks so much for joining today. My name is Sabrina. I've been in the fitness industry just a little over 14 years now. I started in the freestyle industry, working for big box gyms and municipality in the freestyle. So anywhere from step, low impact cardio, intermediate cardio, muscle conditioning class. I took a little break from the industry and came back. Now we're doing pre-choreographed lessons programs for Good Life, and I've been with Good Life 10 years now. I've also been a pro trainer for CanFitPro for 8 years, and I teach the FIS course as well as CPR. So happy to be here. Thanks, Beth, for the opportunity to chat.
Amazing. All right. So we can see that we have a really diverse blend of pro trainers on the panel today. And we're going to do this more like talk show style. So I'm going to have some questions for them, and they're all going to weigh in on some of their best practices for teaching their classes online. And first, I wanted to cover off obstacles, especially even just coming online. Many of us were looking at our homes and wondering, now that I'm not in a studio, when we're into this pandemic now, things are shutting down, where am I actually going to teach my online classes in my home? So I know space is very different for all of you, from Sabrina in her basement this is where she teaches right now, and she's got her kids' toys in the background just sort of tucked away. And Asada is in, downtown Toronto. She uses a balcony, a small balcony and a small space in her home to teach. Now Beth had a studio already set up prior to COVID, so she was well situated, and Donna is using her living room. Now, Donna, I'm going to pass it over to you just to talk about kind of the overcoming of those initial obstacles, especially around setting up your space. And you're still on mute, my friend. There we go.
It is so interesting. It is not me putting myself on mute. So there's something new I've learned today. I'll keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much. So other than apparently tech issues that you can have, space definitely is probably one of the most obvious ones, moving teaching fitness classes into your home. I'm one that did not plan to have my living room set up as a fitness studio. So you kind of have to be resilient, be creative, MacGyver it, as any 80s babies might be aware of that term. So I basically just had to clear some space and as you can see, just be acutely aware and do the best I could in the moment to minimize as many distractions as I could. So I put up a nice, a relatively patternless curtains behind me. I do share the space with my brother who DJs live as well. So there was records down one side, the fireplace down the other. But really, to avoid any sort of barrier to just get going, you just clean it up as best you can and make the space as safe as you can. It being a small space, I also had to then reconfigure how I taught my classes. We could still get a good workout without running around a room. You will learn, if you are going to become a fitness instructor, if you have learned how to modify moves. You can make them, you can use less space, but still increase your intensity. And that's what I had to focus on when I was designing my classes or programming my classes. I also had to keep that in mind for my participants, because the people that you're teaching, they as well maybe didn't plan to be working out at home, at least not in this fashion. So I make a point of being aware of the space around me, how much room I have, and also reminding my participants to be cognizant of their space and when they're moving. So you kind of do a little space check, move things out of the way, and then you just go for it and make it work. You bring the energy that will bring everything up, and it is all good. And that is basically how I get started. And then as time progresses, I could start to make little changes to make it better, make it work, maybe find other areas. But whatever it is, you kind of just, you learn by doing. So once you get started, you might realize you want to reconfigure it a little differently, but you won't know until you get started. So you just kind of got to get started and work with it.
Yes, it's so much better just to get going and learn as you go, right? So thank you for that, Donna. I'm going to pass it over to Beth. I'd love to hear about those initial obstacles that you faced and how you overcame them.
The biggest challenge I had was trying to teach others how to get onto Zoom and use the platform when I myself was learning. So 50% of my students really have no use for social media, or they use the internet maybe very minimally. And so that I had to kind of learn how to use the different devices in order to help get them online. One of the things that I use is a smart TV. So I run an HDMI cable from my laptop right into, as you can see, into the back of the smart TV, and I can see my people quite large. And then if there's 30 or 40 or 50 in the class, I just cycle between the two screens. It's very important to me that I'm able to see all of my people. So also you need to get a USB mic. It's an external mic that attaches into the computer, and that helps project your voice, because your laptop doesn't come with a very good microphone in it. So I'm not sure if you wanted me to talk about that just yet, Beth, or if you wanted me to still talk about the client journey challenges I had.
We're going to move back to the audio setup in just a little bit. So Thank you very much, Beth. I'm going to move it over now to Asada, if you wouldn't mind sharing your initial obstacles quickly.
Yes, my initial obstacle, surprisingly, was confidence. I've been teaching a variety of classes, just like everybody else on this panel, for years. But, and as I mentioned at the top, I have lots of on-camera online experience. But to actually have to teach my classes that I teach face-to-face was a real obstacle. And upon quarantine and during those first couple of weeks, I found myself really depressed and really sad. And so, yeah, it took me a while. I started by teaching to a small group of people first, and just to a couple of friends. And then I gained some more confidence and decided to open the class up to the public. And it was because I was missing that big community feel. And I actually encourage my participants, when we're using Zoom, to put it on gallery mode so that you can actually see everybody else, or just pin me. And so, yeah, that's the short of it. It was confidence for me, but it built over time.
For sure. I think all of us had those initial concerns about technology, including like setup, what platform to use, and that's confidence over everything. So I'm going to pass it to Sabrina to kind of transition us over to tech, because I know a lot of people are really interested in hearing your thoughts about tech.
Yeah, I think that was my first concern, was how can they hear the music and still be able to project my voice? And we all know that music is what moves us in group fitness. That's what makes your class, that sometimes is what differentiates you from another instructor. So I feel like that was the biggest challenge for me, and learning that, like, how do they hear it? Can they hear me? Can they hear the coaching and the cueing and the connection piece? But still have a really good motivational base for music, for volume and crispness of the music. So that definitely was the biggest obstacle for me to kind of overcome.
And we're going to share all about audio sharing and music and verbal and nonverbal cueing best practices. But let's talk first about platforming. I know some of you are teaching on Facebook and IGTV. Our panelists are all teaching on Zoom, and some of them are teaching on IGTV and Facebook Live. Sabrina, why did you choose Zoom, and what do you like about Zoom? How does it work for your participants?
So I went with Zoom only because my full-time job is in the corporate world. So I went with familiarity, like something quick, something fast that I didn't, in my opinion, for my limited use, there wasn't going to be a big learning curve. So I went with Zoom there. You know, it's amazing because I get to send links out and it's private and I can control it because my service is a subscription base. It's not a drop-in. So it's a monthly subscription base. So I can send out the weekly links. And in addition to that, it's got great features, right? For me, I could record classes and then I get to send out my recordings, and that's kind of part of my package. And I know we'll talk about that later on, so I won't get into too much detail. But I do record the classes. That way, if the times don't work for people, they can get on at any time that they want, and I can communicate within Zoom to my people. So we all know technology has its, you know, it has its issues. Sometimes can propose, you know, have challenges that just spring up upon you. And I know Zoom has experienced those because this wasn't intended to be the platform that so many people in so many different industries are turning to. But if you set people up as contacts, just kind of a little note, if you have your Zoom, have people add you as contacts so that if you somehow lose them and you need to send new links, it's a perfect opportunity to quickly communicate with them. Back then I was going back and forth to email, wait, I'm sending you a new link, I'm sending you a new link, versus just having everybody as a contact list. So there are definitely benefits. That, for those reasons, is why I feel that Zoom, for me, is the best platform.
Yes, your Zoom is going to flake out. It's going to happen. Things are going to be disruptive in terms of internet lag and for on your participant side and on the instructor side. So you need to have patience, and any kind of workarounds or streamlined tips like Sabrina's suggesting to get in touch with your participants if there is a power outage or the Wi-Fi is really slow or whatever. I think that's a great idea. Now, Donna, I know that the rec center and the municipality that you teach with and the community college, they moved their classes during quarantine onto social media channels. So can you talk a little bit about the difference there that you've experienced?
Sure, but as a quick sound check, can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, my friend.
That's why I said, nope. That's
Yeah,
fine. That's why I said as a quick sound check, can you hear me? So if you read lips, that's what I said. But I'm learning something new. There's a, anyway, we'll come to that. But as you can see, there are different things that you learn about Zoom. I'm learning one myself now. With regards to the municipalities and the colleges that moved to Instagram and Facebook, those platforms are also great. They were a very low barrier to entry for our public. So because most people were already on it. So it was definitely a benefit in terms of reach, reaching more people and reaching them quickly. So those are some of the advantages in terms of using Facebook, Facebook Live, Instagram, even in your stories, which pops over to IGTV. A couple of challenges with regards to those, though, were one, the interaction that you have. We don't have the same interaction as we do within Zoom. As Sabrina mentioned, you can see your people, you can interact with them that way. It is more private in that respect. There are ways to make it private in those platforms, but generally they historically have been public. So the interaction is different because as an instructor, we can't see your faces, we can't see our people. And that's one of the key things. Even Beth mentioned it's very important to her to be able to see your participants, as it is to most of us. But in that platform, it is another option to reach more people, and some people prefer it. So our interaction is different, and we may have them simply, we may interact more with them right at the beginning, where they, type in the comments, tell me you're here, and then at the end, because they should be doing your workout with you, you can communicate with them that way through the comments of each in the end as well. So that was one of the, I think one of the main reasons they chose to go that way, because they had those platforms sort of set up in their areas, and then it was a quick and easy entry. As we quickly, as quarantine sort of just dropped on our heads, we moved really quickly, and that was, it's been very successful, and we've been able to actually reach way more people clearly than the current memberships of those communities. So it's been great.
That's great. Yes, the one benefit of definitely using a social media platform is you may be seen by folks that wouldn't have known you otherwise. Maybe they're not in your geographic location. So that is a definite benefit versus having more of the private Zoom classes. Now, Asata, I know you've been teaching on IGTV and also Facebook in your private group. So can you add anything different here about using social media?
Absolutely. Using Instagram TV, using different social medias, the one thing I really learned was, oh, I love this picture. In this picture, it really identifies that on Instagram TV, I had to be very aware of my spacing. So this picture really demonstrates my arm distance, my leg distance, and how much floor space I needed, and how much I had to be aware of the height above me as well. And then if I'm teaching on Zoom, the camera is a little bit different, and so I'd have to check my spacing there. I also teach using Microsoft Teams, and again, the camera, it's same camera, but because the application is different, the spacing was different. So that's what I had to really take into account. I hope I answered your question there with regards to different platforms. Yeah,
thank you very much. And I think now people are really wondering, okay, what about setting up the music on Zoom? Let's focus on that, because I'm seeing some questions in the chat about audio and music especially. I'm going to pass it over to Beth, because now everybody just keep in mind before I do pass it to Beth that each of our panelists have different setups. So please just take the information in and then leave it up to yourself to decide what's going to work best for you. Some folks like Beth have a very nicely elaborate setup, and some of the other panelists like Donna don't use a mic and really anything at all. So we're going to show the gamut of setups, and you can just pull together what works the best for you. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Beth just to share a little bit about her tech setup.
Thank you. Yeah, so for me, the quality of the sound was very depressing when I first started on Zoom. My clients were saying it sounded like space monkeys, like just, and that just broke my soul. So I worked very quickly to try to fix that. And one thing you need to know about Zoom is you can enable original sound, so that it does not compress the file, so that they can hear it better. And then from that picture that you just showed, Beth, of my setup, it's I have an external mic, and I have a mixer board, and I run everything through the mixer board and pump it out massive speakers. And this is just my own setup because I have my own studio. And so it's all old school. I'm an old school teacher, and so even the old mic belt there. And so, yeah, and then I point the massive speaker that all of my voice and everything is coming out of right at a podcast mic that's USB'd into the laptop. So now my clients are loving it. They say it's exactly like we're in the gym together. And the best thing is, usually my classes have like 50 people in them, but now on Zoom, they can see me. They're all saying, oh, we can see you, we can see your feet, we love this. So it's yeah, so there's my big pumping out speaker, old fashioned, right into the mic. So everything works. But again, I have a very unique setup, but we're all different, right? So anyway, you'll play around with it, and yeah, I'll let Beth carry on.
For sure. And we're going to pass it over to Sabrina, because I know your setup's a little bit different as well. So I'll let you tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, same idea. So to my point, like learn as you go, right? So first it was like external speaker through the computer. Now it's online, shared through the speaker. And I know Beth has got some more information on how to stream it through your computer. I use, in addition to broadcasting my music through my laptop, what I found with the picture and the sound wasn't what it needed to be. So I have that, which you guys can see here. It's called a shotgun mic. And the shotgun mic actually goes into a tripod I purchased as well. I'm not promoting Amazon here. None of us are promoting anywhere. This is where we found things the quickest, with where we could find it and get it. So that's called a shotgun mic, and what it does, it's focused straight on. So what you need to consider when you're thinking about a mic, think about it as a balloon. Okay, so all mics typically will pick up sound right around. The shotgun mic will pick up sound right in front of it. So anything around it'll cancel and ignore, and anything direct to it. So this one I picked up for, you can see, $53. Then the tripod itself has my husband's iPhone on it. I'd be in trouble if he wasn't here for one of my classes, but I use his phone in the tripod, and we've downloaded, that's the tripod there, as you can see, $39.99 on Amazon, so not expensive at all. And then the mic sits on the tripod, and it plugs into the phone, and the phone sits on the tripod, or so, yes, also. And then I downloaded an app onto my husband's phone. It's $10.99. And what we find as well, the mic and the camera on that makes it clearer. It's a crisper picture, and it's a crisper sound between the two mics on the phone and the shotgun mic. So one also thing you want to think about, I do have my husband who logs on to my Zoom calls as well, and he's my techie, and they all know him, and they know he's there. And what we do is we test the music before every class, because what you need to be aware of is any playlist you use, and I know we'll talk about royalty-free, etc. Any music you stream, the playlists sometimes are different for sound. So don't assume once you've found the perfect spot today that it'll be the same tomorrow. So always great to check in with someone 5 minutes before class to, you know, help yourself with the sound.
Thank you. Why don't we move to sharing sound on Zoom? Donna, would you be open to talking a little bit about sharing the audio on Zoom?
I would. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to check. So it's awesome that I'm chatting a little bit about sound. With regards to Zoom, I think it was Beth that mentioned, yeah, sharing original sound, definitely one great point to do for the reason she mentioned. It decompresses the sound and sends everything across. The other great thing that you can do within Zoom is to actually share the audio on your system. So if you're playing the music, whatever your sound source is, on your laptop or whatever it is in this case, and running Zoom on the same device, what I'm trying to say, you can share your sound. This is within the web client. That means you would do this from a computer typically, or a laptop. So within the advanced settings, there's an option for you to actually share the computer audio only. So that's a second option that you would check off. And what that does is it actually makes the sound like it is on your participant's device. So rather than it sounding like it's playing in open air behind us or behind you, the instructor, it sounds like it's playing on their device, and they actually have control over the volume and etc. on their end. So that's a great way, and immediately once you can tell how happy participants are, like Beth mentioned, when the sound is great, and Sabrina mentioned, music is such an important part of group fitness. So once you start to get it right, everything lifts, you feel so much better and so much more confident. The one key thing to remember with that though, is if you do share your sound, typically, if you're doing it in that simple format, you as the instructor, it lowers the sound for you, and no matter how loud you put it on your laptop, it's going to be a little bit low. So to resolve that, all you need to do is use an aux cable, which many of us already have, and it's the one you plug into the speakers of your device or your laptop, and then connect it to an external speaker. So, and that's something that you would hear. It plays the music for you, so you get the good energy, you get the good vibes, and everybody has an awesome class.
Yes, music is such a motivator in fitness. So if you as the instructor have your amazing royalty-free playlist licensed for online use, and your participants are hearing it, but you're not hearing it, and you enjoy teaching with musicality and you're not on the beat, it could drive you crazy. So you definitely want to have the audio sounding for yourself as well. And then it's going to be synced up exactly for your participants as well as for yourself. And I know, Sabrina, I think you use a Bluetooth speaker. You don't even plug it in with an aux cord, and that works fine too.
Yeah, I use a Bluetooth speaker. And again, the quality of music that comes out of your speaker will definitely depend on the type of speaker you have. I've gone through 3 Bluetooth speakers, because some of them, it just doesn't project enough. So the better the speaker, the better the sound quality, and the higher it is for you to hear. What I would be conscious of is where the speaker is to the computer, because you don't want it to pick up the secondary music. So that's very important. So if you're having a Bluetooth speaker, you don't want it right by the computer, because it'll pick up both. So just be cognizant of that. And if you listen to a speaker like through Zoom, the quality won't be the same. I test my music, it's amazing, and all of a sudden I put on Zoom and I'm like, oh, well, that was not so good. So it does take, but it is the quality of the speaker that will make the difference there.
Absolutely, and different options, right? Everybody's actual technical devices make a difference in what we're using, and sometimes just plugging in versus Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, using actual old school cables can sometimes help. So yeah, you make a really good point in the quality of the speaker. However, sometimes just getting started with what you have helps you learn, right? You'll check in with your participants. What do they hear? Are they good? And then you might realize, okay, I don't like this. I'm gonna bump it up and look for some new speakers, like Sabrina tried, going through 3. But you don't have to do that right when you get started, but you will learn and grow and know what you like and what works better for you as you move through and become more experienced as an instructor online.
I so agree, because it's your personality that is going to be even more important than the music, and how you teach, how you cue, how you create rapport and community and relationships with your participants. So music, yes, super important, but don't let yourself worry about it too much as you're just getting started. Don't let that be a barrier. I think that's what we would all agree upon. Now, Asata, you have some other interesting like tech tools that you use for music and just for your mic, etc. Can you share that?
Yep, absolutely. So right now I'm using AirPods, but when I'm teaching an active class, the AirPods don't stay in for me. So I use special AirPods that actually connect to the ear, and the ones that worked for me were the Beats Pros. And so they're kind of pricey, but the microphone quality is great, and again, not falling out of my ear. I also use a program with Zoom called Loopback. And with Loopback, it allows me to hear my music and hear my voice, and then the participants using, as we explained, use the music through your computer for the participants. They hear that music as it is, but I'm hearing what they're hearing. And what's best for me about the Loopback program is it was free to start, but more than that is that because I live in a condo, I don't know if my neighbors necessarily appreciate my blasting music, because I'm also a dance instructor and we love it loud. So what Loopback allows for is that while it's loud for me in my ear and loud for my participants, in the actual room, there's no sound. So you can't hear it, whether I'm transitioning from inside or outside, there's no sound. And for my Zumba posse out there, this is a really, really good, it really worked well for me. And whether you decide to use Loopback or not, just know that I want to just quickly go back to someone asked about lag. I just mentioned that it might be lagging for your participants, but it's not lagging for, it might look like it's lagging for your participants, but it's not necessarily lagging for them. So if they don't say it's lagging for them, then they're probably fine. Instagram TV, Instagram Live, once I turn it off, my husband is actually watching and he shows me that it's still going once I turn it off. So there's even some lag time on Instagram TV. And also sometimes the lag time, lagging has nothing to do with your internet. It might be with your participants and their connection.
Great point. The lag definitely threw me off when I first started teaching on Zoom. And I realized then as a participant that I don't experience that at all. So as an instructor, you definitely need to be aware that your participants are going to be like a half a second behind you in the movements if you are doing movements together, especially to a beat of the music, but their experience is great. So that's just something you have to get used to with Zoom for sure. Now, I think we should talk about lighting. Lighting your space is also really important. And again, you might have everything from a great natural light with a window to getting a lighting kit. So I'm going to pass it back over to Asata, and she's got some ideas about lighting.
Yes, so first of all, when it comes to lighting, natural light is best. And if you actually have like a nice big window, make sure any of the light you're using, whether it's natural or indoor, that the light is in front of you. And I actually learned this from YouTube videos. What you're looking at now is the setup that I have right now, which is my ring light. Now, it's a little bit pricey for a ring light, but because it also includes a holder for my phone, and I could hold, I could put my phone, I can actually put another camera on there, other devices on there. That's the one that I went with. I also went with this because of the cord that connects to the ring light itself is really, really long, so that I could connect that to something far away. For lighting, it's important again to have that light in front of you. Because I'm using a bigger space for sitting down, the ring light might be enough, but I also have bigger lights that stand, and that I use for Instagram Live and also for Teams and for Zoom when I'm indoors. What else? I got to tell you that it felt really weird. And again, I have on-camera experience, but it felt a little bit conceited. It felt a little bit like, am I going to be the next YouTube star? Like, no, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want any of that. But I ended up buying these things in advance, thinking that maybe I'll use them one day, and then built the confidence. So that's what I have to say about lighting. And just quickly, lighting makes a difference. So that's me without my ring light, and this is me now without the upper lights. I've got natural light coming on the side, but it's putting a bit of shadow on my face. So it makes a little bit of a difference. I'm a Black woman, so again, I'm double checking that I can be seen. I want to be well lit. But again, no matter your complexion, if the light is behind you, you're going to come off as a shadow and dark. So you want to avoid that.
That's a super pro tip. Thank you, Asata. Now, Donna, your setup is less high tech. You put together things you already had, and I think that will be inspirational to folks who are just getting started, who maybe don't want to invest a lot of money in new items to get their classes going. So can you share a little bit about your setup?
Sure, certainly. And again, I will check. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yep, we can hear you.
There we go. Yeah, awesome. Excellent. So yeah, so those are great progressions, as I mentioned earlier, that you want to just jump in and get started if you can. And I worked with what I had. And funny enough, my sister-in-law, who lives here as well, and my brother were both photographers as well. So I did have some other lighting options, but I wasn't as familiar with them. So in order to just get going, I've actually used you can see I used a floor lamp with the sort of two pieces and the desk portion. And the desk lamp part that sort of folds over has a cone on it and kind of acted like a bit of a spotlight. So I shined that in the area that I teach. And it's actually broken. The other light doesn't work. So thankfully, the one that I needed actually works. So I used that to help add additional light to my space. And then where I have my laptop and my entire setup, as Asata mentioned, we have a big picture window in the front of my living room, and I've got my laptop in front of that so that the window is behind my laptop in my setup, right? So that the light comes towards me. So I tried to use my room in the best way that I could. Hopefully the window's in a place that you can use that additional natural light. And I also taught during the day, and as it's summertime, even in the evening, we had some natural light. So I tried to take advantage of that and also add a little bit of extra light. And then as time progresses, I take advantage of maybe other lighting kits, make the lighting a little better. But what I always did was each little thing I tried, I always checked with my participants. How does it sound for you? How does it look for you? If they were okay, I was okay. Because that was not something that I would have wanted to start out with everything right off the bat. But I realized quite quickly that when they're good, then you're good. So I took my time, did some research, and I'm picking and adding things as I go along.
And Donna, you're also using, a MacBook for your Zoom classes, and then you also have a different setup for your social media classes. So I'm going to share some images of those if you want to talk a little bit about that.
So don't laugh. Okay, you can laugh. It's okay, you can laugh. Like I said, I went with whatever I had, and to set up my laptop, I didn't have because I was using a laptop, I didn't have a super tall tripod or table or whatever. So I had this box that we use for photo shoots. Then I had this bench that we got from Ghana one year. And then I added a shoe box just to get some height on my laptop. So I just stacked everything up till I got it to a height that I needed. So that's what I did for when I'm using for Zoom, which is what I use my laptop for. And it's an 8-year-old Mac. She's getting tired, but she works, she does her job, and she does it well right now as best she can. That said, I also use just the laptop. So I'm using the mic that's built into the laptop, and also the built-in webcam, which are not, again, the best absolute quality out there. The webcams and laptops are not built for movement, but again, it worked. It got me going. I checked, people were okay. I then sometimes do use, I think Sabrina does this as well, using your phones, which have the best cameras. So there are ways to connect that to your devices to use that as a camera. And then in terms of when I do IGTV and Facebook Lives, that I do use my phone. There was an issue with the laptop at one point that I had to quickly switch to my phone, and I stayed with my phone. I didn't have a tripod at the time that I could prop it on. But we have, my house is full of boys, young ones and older ones, that all play video games, and I had a Nintendo Switch. So I popped my phone into that, used an elastic band to hold it on, and again, adjusted, and that worked. So the behind the scenes may not be as pretty, but it works for the classes. And that's why, again, you learn by doing. So you just got to look around, see what you have, see if you can make it work, and go for it.
And I think there was even an issue where you just propped your phone into a shoe or something that you had nearby one day when there was a bit of a tech issue. Is that right?
Yeah, there was an update to Zoom, which again, if you're into tech and you know these things, you get an update. Things worked yesterday, then they don't work the next day. So I was due to teach a class for one of the facilities I work for, and we go online about 5 minutes before. So I was all ready and all set up. I even tested. Usually I test my lives about an hour before quickly. Anyway, everything was fine. I went to go live, error. Couldn't figure it out. I had a class to teach, so this was on my laptop, so I grabbed my phone, and that's when I was like, okay, this works. So I'm talking to them, telling them, okay, we're gonna get started. But I didn't have a tripod. I didn't even have the switch ready. I had nothing prepared, but I had a pair of shoes, and I stuffed some socks in the shoe and propped the phone up and made it angle because it held it there. And again, it wasn't pretty for me to look at, but it worked. It kept the phone in place. It kept it where they could see me. We taught the class, and it was awesome.
It's the same thing when you're teaching in person. Sometimes things happen in the studio too, where you have to just, you know, where maybe your speaker didn't work or you couldn't connect your music or whatever. Like, I think we've all had the phone playing music in a cup to try to amplify it in the studio workaround, right? So I love how flexible and agile you are when you're overcoming these obstacles with tech, because they're going to come up. So
Yeah.
Now, Asata, did you have something to add there? And I think I wanted you to talk a little bit about nonverbal cueing if you don't have a mic at all.
Yeah, all this stuff, we keep using it, especially, again, shout out to my Zumba family, but actually to anybody teaching any class, how we interact physically is so important. No mic, no problem. Beth, you mentioned that sometimes the laptop mic isn't the greatest. I've been lucky enough, blessed enough that my laptop mic works fine. Again, without the earbuds, Instagram TV, I've got the Bluetooth speaker that Sabrina has, plus music, that music playing from there, and just my voice without any microphone. But again, get close to the camera. Like, actually, you're not actually seeing them, but look in like you actually see them. Like, actually move. I don't know how else I can say it. Your passion comes through. Again, music, yes, but our own individual personality and passion comes through. So yeah, give them a side eye every once in a while. I know you don't like this exercise, but we're gonna do it. I'm with you. Things like that. And don't just perform for them. Don't just do the exercise the whole time. Stop, explain, all that sort of stuff that you would do live. Really feel like they're there, and I guarantee that that'll help to keep them engaged and interested. And that was also one of my fears. Are people going to join, first of all, and are they actually going to stay? Are they going to be interested? And I've been lucky, but we're also fitness professionals, so we're trained.
I think that if you go on camera and teach your class like there are 100 people in the room with you, it's going to make the positive difference for even if it's just one person who shows up for your class that day. You make sure that you make that person feel so special and so taken care of and so motivated, because that's what you do best, right? So you just have to bring that energy and care and concern. And I love the ideas of coming up to the camera. I know when I've been a participant in both Sabrina, Donna, and Beth's classes on Zoom, they came right up to the camera. They used my name, they used participants' names. So we all felt like we were being cared for and coached individually, which was really a motivator and inspirational for us. So, and that was my experience as a participant in their classes. I'd love to talk a little bit more about that customer experience and the customer journey, just to even getting folks on your class, you know, in terms of risk management, insurance, liability, pricing, marketing, all of those things. So we're going to pass it over to Sabrina, and you can just share a little bit about your registration process and how you bring people and onboard them into your classes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where everybody tries to figure out where they fit in this online world. And I've seen some questions coming through the panel, like, what are you guys charging? We need to know what's fair. And I'll get to what my setup is, but what I want to preface this by saying is you have to be true to what you want to charge. Nobody's situations are the same, what they offer, how long it takes them to prepare. So I want to start off by saying, pick a price that you're comfortable with. Not what I've heard people tell me, I undercharge, I overcharge. And you know what, at the end of the day, it's you. This is about you. So it's about what you offer and what you feel comfortable charging. So I offer 3 classes a week. All 3 are recorded for later. I charge $25 a month. My registration process is you connect with me via social media or email. I have a 90% retention rate, which I think is amazing. And I sign up 3 to 5 new people every month. So did I intend to ask people to pay? I didn't. I did this for free. It was a way for me to keep the community of my Fit Fam together. It was like, oh my gosh, gyms are closed. We need to stay together. So when I had to transition after to be paying for, you know, the royalty-free music, the subscriptions and all those things, my Zoom upgrades, and then I wanted to invest a little bit to make that member experience better, I had to start charging, you know, and I really struggled with it. I was like, you know, I don't know if I should just walk away and be like, okay guys, that was awesome, catch you in the gym, or if I was going to be like, no, I really need to offer a service now. I'm an instructor. I have something to bring to this community. I feel, and like Asada mentioned, like that feeling of like, will they pay for this? You know, they pay big box gym prices. I show up, I teach my class. It's great that they all show up, but will they pay? And there's a bit of concern, right? You know, it's a bit, you know, you're kind of concerned, what's this going to make me feel like if they don't? But I'm telling you, they love you. They come to see you. They will pay for you. Don't undersell yourself and pick the price point that's right for you. That's my best advice.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, yeah, it's great to provide a free class. I know many of you are doing, you know, first class free or trials so they can come and try you out. But, you know, and there's a lot of free offerings on YouTube and on social media and everywhere. However, there's only one you. And I love that, you know, you are charging what, you know, you feel is your market can bear, your participants, and you deserve that payment. So thank you for sharing that about your pricing. I'd like to pass it over to Beth, because I know you're teaching primarily older adult classes, and so their tech skills weren't really like up to snuff. We're getting on Zoom, and I know that you don't even advertise. You do everything through word of mouth and referral. So I think your customer journey is a really important one to share.
Yes, I saw a question come through, and I just want to jump in because I don't want to forget. Someone asked about how do you sort of keep the internet stable, or someone froze and what happens. You have to put your Ethernet cable right into your laptop, guys. Don't try to do Wi-Fi. Don't do that. So Ethernet cable into the laptop. I just wanted to jump back into that. That's how you stop the unstable internet connection. So when it comes to my client journey, I gave away the first 2 weeks for free, 26 classes, because we all thought this was just going to be for 2 weeks, right? And then I got officially laid off from my job, and okay, now I got to pay my bills. And so this was fun, but I had to come up with some pricing. And so I'm unique. I teach 15 classes a week for $50 a month. You have to pay by the month. I collect it mid the following month. I do all my registrations, and they pay by e-transfer, guys. It's simple. Now, saying that it's simple, my clientele, it was not simple. They had never really done any of this. So $50 a month is what I charge. So they didn't know how to get it to me. So I have about, you know, I would say like 3% who still have to mail me good old-fashioned checks. But the rest of them, I was able to teach them how to do a transfer, an e-transfer, after spending 3 days teaching all of them how to get onto Zoom, because it wasn't, how do I use Zoom? It's what's a web browser, and what's Chrome, and what the heck is an e-transfer? So I had to go back and start like at zero and learn how to communicate with patients and understanding and empathy, because my clients were motivated to stay fit. They were not going to give up, and they didn't give up, and now they're experts at all of this technology. So just know your stuff when you're trying to get your people to come on. So because all the different devices are different. The iPads are different, iPhones, the different laptops, the Galaxy, all these things, they're all different. You got to know how to help your people and troubleshoot. That's the hardest thing with the 68 to 80-year-old clientele. Okay. I think, did I answer that? I think I answered. Oh, yes.
Great. And I think Sabrina does have something to add in there.
Just quickly on payment, like Beth said, e-transfer sometimes is easy. I mean, you can keep the names of the people coming in, and I'm an old school corporate girl. I like my spreadsheets, and I like to ensure that I have signed waivers, and once the waivers are signed and the payments are received, so I manage it that way. Another great way is PayPal. PayPal, you can send actually a direct link for PayPal. So if you have a set fee, you can set it up so that the PayPal link, as soon as they touch it, they link it, your picture comes up, you can have it a nice fitness picture, and then the set fee, and they just click it. And so PayPal, and then you can utilize PayPal to move it to credit cards or leave it in PayPal or put it into your personal account.
Thank you. And I know that liability insurance, risk management is super important. Donna, would you mind talking a little bit about your kind of onboarding process, registration process, and how you get, the waiver information and the liability all covered off?
I'm sure. We good for sound?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so with regards to making sure that your clients are aware of the waiver of liability that is so important, you want them to know about. Part of my registration process, I use, for my private classes, I use Zoom there's a registration feature within Zoom that I utilize. So that is the link that I share when I create the class. I share the registration link to distinguish from the link to the class. And within that link, as soon as you click on it, my waiver of liability comes up. So it's something that they need to, the idea is that they need to have read even before they put their name and email in to register for the class. So I will outline that there, basically saying by registering and participating in this class, you agree to the following. So then once they've registered, I also include that as part of the confirmation email that they get. That includes the link to the class. It is there again. We realize that sometimes people don't read things, but guys, we just do our best to put that in front of them, put the information in front of our people. And that is basically like you're doing the best you can to mitigate any risk to yourself, and also getting them to sign the like PARQs and waivers of liability if you actually want them written. There are some great online options, which I believe, Beth, we're going to include in a link. I know Sabrina had a great one that a lot of us use in some of our experiences, where they can actually sign these things digitally online, and you can include that as part of your registration process to make sure that they are aware and that you have yourself covered with the individuals that you are teaching.
And it's great when you get that PARQ back from them and they've filled it out and they're cleared for physical activity, then you can offer multi-level teaching, which I know you're doing already, but specifically, oh, so someone's pregnant or someone has a shoulder injury and they can't do push-ups. Like, you will know these things because you've read and understood their PARQ, and then you can offer an even more customized experience for your participants, which they really appreciate. So we are very close to time. I mean, we could just go on and on about so many more tools and tips, but what I'd like to do is actually have each panelist just share really quickly kind of a lightning round of their best tips about cueing, coaching, their on-camera presence, how they bring the energy, and how they create community for their participants. So let's pass it over to Asata first.
Okay, so for cueing, as I mentioned before, use your whole body, be short and succinct. For coaching, again, use your skills. If you're a fitness instructor specialist, really pull into those skills. On-camera presence, forget the makeup, wear a dress, wear colorful clothing. Make sure your background isn't the same as what you're wearing, because you will just disappear. And for building community, we already mentioned it. Get in there, say their names. In fact, start your class a little bit early and just check in, simply asking people how they're doing. We are going through a pandemic right now, so maybe get a little bit off of the let's push for results and a little more on, you know what, I'm just so happy you made it here.
Yes, bring the love. You're so good at that. Beth, let's hear from you. I know that you also include a little social time afterwards, like a little coffee time on some of your classes for your older adults to participate in. So just give us a few of your lightning round top tips.
Yeah, so my clients, I created a private Facebook group, communicate with them through that. And we do a weekly coffee hour where we get together and we get to just talk about how we're struggling through this COVID. Cueing tips, mirror teach, guys. Call your lefts and your rights, keep them on track. Everybody moving across your Zoom screen at the same rate is very reassuring to you. Wear a different color top and bottom so that they can distinguish your torso, what's your torso doing. Sometimes I wear different color leggings when I'm teaching yoga, because when we sit in a cross-legged, they can't tell what's up and what's down. Put an X on the floor to keep you on track, because boy, we get excited when we teach, eh? And we start moving all around, and before you know it, oh shoot, you can't see me. Okay, so put an X on the floor. Make sure you have a clock so you keep people on time. That's it. That's my lightning. You can do it.
Beautiful. All right, Donna, let's pass it over to you for your top tips.
Excellent. Just to add on to a couple of the things that were already mentioned, I definitely test out my space. So the X and marking off your spots, a great tip. I also, though, prior to going on camera, every single time, even if I know where my camera goes, I still sort of use the camera feature, use the video, and I hit play, and then I step back and make sure, you know, I do kind of general movements, and I jump back and look at the video, make sure I can fit. For creating community, that's a big one for me, because it's been going online allows you, as we mentioned at the top, to access, be accessible to more people. So I'm really happy about creating community amongst maybe underserved and represented communities within the fitness space. So I tend to, like we've mentioned before, to go on a little bit early, open it up, and just start chatting with people about what they want, what they feel. You get to know your people a little bit better. And that's whether you're in Zoom or even if you're on Facebook Live, if you can, and have that opportunity. Get people talking like we did at the top of this, ask them where they're from, stuff like that. And yeah, just in terms of just be confident and smile. I mean, we say fake it till you make it. We're not really faking it. You know you're here because you care. So show that. If you're nervous, you're nervous. People appreciate it. You will get better. You will be less and less nervous and more confident the more you do this. And we're here to help.
That's right. That's what we do. We are here to help. Very well said, Donna. Thank you. Sabrina, we're going to pass it to you.
Quick and short. Be confident. Know that things are not always going to go the way you had intended to. Your child might run downstairs and ask for breakfast. Your speaker might heck out. Your Wi-Fi may go. But at the end of the day, you're an instructor. You're an instructor whether they're on a screen or they're right in front of you. Bring the energy. Bring your personality, be true to yourself and your style, and they will come and they will enjoy it, and you will find a new rhythm in this new world we live in. I get just as excited to teach online as I do present. So just expect the unexpected and be ready to roll, and they are super forgiving. If I can say anything, they get it. They get this new world we're living in. They appreciate you and your ability to kind of switch gears and continue to think about them and offer them greatness. So be you and enjoy it.
Amazing. Now, all of our pro trainers are going to be offering courses in the future, some as soon as July. We've got some coming in September. So please note that you can take the Fitness Instructor Specialist Certification live online, facilitated by one of these amazing women. And you will be on Zoom with them, and you'll get the benefit of not only learning how to teach in-person classes, but also how to show up on camera, all the tech tools, everything, because you will be actually teaching on camera during your course, during your certification course. So it's an amazing opportunity. We are pivoting. These are the times we are doing it, and it's actually going to bring even more value to our participants for the CanFitPro Fitness Instructor Specialist Certification. All right, is there any final sort of comments before we call this one complete? We've got about 2 minutes. I'm seeing lots of great information or things coming in from the chat with thanking us all for your great enthusiasm and great tech tools. But I will just pass over one more little poll, because we'd love to hear from you what education topics you're interested in. But perhaps actually there's one question just about music, and I know, Donna, you've had some experience with music. I don't think we've covered this off in terms of using original artist music versus royalty-free music, and some situations you can get into if you're using original artist on social media.
Yes. So really quickly, that's a big one, and that is, as we've mentioned earlier, we would be using, there is music that has been created specifically for virtual streaming. If you do use original artist music, Facebook and Instagram, we know have got these little bots, these little artificial intelligence that are actually listening for that. They will recognize it and could, in fact, shut down your not just your feed, but maybe even your account if it happens too often. So it's really risky, and that goes for their new options like groups within private groups on Facebook. It is still, they still will assume that you maybe don't have the license for it. And when you purchase music, you are purchasing it for your own personal use, not necessarily or not at all for teaching. So where at all possible, use royalty-free music, and that means that there's no royalties that you need to pay, so it is okay to be streaming online. If you're not sure what that is or what that means, again, reach out to any one of us or to CanFitPro directly. We've got great resources online that speak through that, but it basically means that we can use it to stream online, which, believe it or not, is also different than what we would use in a studio, because your studio probably pays the licensing fees in order for you to use the music that you teach in the studio. So music is a juggernaut of a topic, but to keep it super simple, virtual royalty-free music is what you'll use if you want to stream. Because if you use original artist music online, you do risk basically your class ending suddenly and maybe even your account.
Thank you for that. Yes, keeping everybody safe there. Sabrina, we're going to pass it over to you quick just to finish it off.
Just quickly, if you're going to look, Yes Music has a great live stream section, as well as Movia. And when I spoke, I think there was a question about playlists. I meant stations, I guess, because there are different providers in the industry. Okay, so they will sound different. So CanFitPro, as pro trainers, we use Movia a lot, Yes Fitness. So go check those out, and they're royalty free, and they actually say live streaming on them.
Asada.
Last little tip, royalty-free streaming music. I like cardio mixes personally.
Awesome. Yeah, we do have a great web blog on the CanFitPro website, and we're going to share all this stuff with you in the email tomorrow. You're going to get an amazing resource link. And if you are not watching this after the webinar, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're also going to include the information on the CanFitPro blog. That blog has some amazing information, so go check it out at canfitpro.com. Thank you to my panelists for being here today. This was super fun. And thank you to all of you for being here and being part of the CanFitPro community. We love and appreciate you, and we're wishing you to stay safe, stay healthy, and stay fit. Take care, everyone.